I'm going to go ahead and make an important video now, the most important guitar lesson or music lesson period you've ever had. Now, I've done a lot of lessons, a lot of videos in general. The first couple weren't even guitar videos. I think the first one was the Eastern Screech Owl, the sound of the owl at night. But mostly I've stuck with the music lessons. And we're going to talk about the most important lesson to learning music, period. So don't go anywhere. Now, the most important music lesson is this notion of not depending on internet resources to the extent that you don't use your ears. So, things I'm working out now use tabs, going back and forth between the tabs and the lessons and so forth, and tabs are really good. But the most important lesson is using your ears to learn. And what does this mean specifically? It means, how do you think someone like Buddy Holly learned to play? Obviously, some people come from a musical family, but musicians like Buddy Holly and so forth, some of the greats that we admire, they learn by listening to records and trying to recreate a sound they heard on their instrument. And that means that you can do it too. So what are the advantages of this? Well, for one thing, you pick up all the subtle nuances when you begin listening intuitively in this way. You pick up the phrasing, you pick up exactly the way the note is played. Perhaps there was a little bend put on it, for example. You can hear, was it loud, was it quiet? What kind of dynamics were applied to the whole situation? Now, the important thing when learning to play things by ear, and the word is transcribe, is that you don't start out with something super difficult, because you're going to get discouraged and you're not going to want to continue learning this way. So you have to have these little breakthroughs. You get this little note, this chord, but here's the thing. This is what stage I'm at now. When you begin doing this and you begin picking apart records and so forth and learning this way, eventually, I have a theory of where musical ideas come from. Eventually, you can begin to express yourself by doing this. You can begin to recreate sounds that are not recreations anymore. You start creating things that are original, in the sense that certain musical phrases will just pop into your ear. This happens to me all the time, particularly when I'm walking to work. I walk to work. I'm going to start biking. I just got a bike today. I'm going to tell that story. An antique bike from a certain sale I just went to. Yeah, really cool tag sale at a church. That used to be a school. Church just bought it. And when I'm walking to work, that's when my head feels so clear. And all these ideas, whether it's an idea for a video, and if I don't write that idea down, it'll often get lost. Why do I say this? Because you'll hear these little musical phrases sometimes, this series of notes. And what I do is I take out the harp, the harmonica. That's my constant companion. And I'll just work out whatever notes were in my head, whatever little phrase was in my ear. So then I went beyond trying to recreate things from records. And now I'm going to the next stage, which is playing, creating what pops into my head and just making that appear on the instrument. And that would be the next level. So at that point, you're creating something that never existed, and you're expressing the sounds that are in your head. And this takes a while to develop that kind of musicianship. So when you go to the first stage, like working out specific songs and parts of songs. Don't start with the most technical advanced players, most technically advanced, because you just won't think you're any good at it. You don't think you have the talent, but you need to do small breakthroughs. Tabs get your foot in the door. Like this new song, I'm switching back between the tabs and watching the guy play. And the easy part is to set the metronome and just go based off the tabs. The harder part is turning that off and going back to the guy and playing along with him seamlessly, because I've gotten too dependent on the tabs for this particular new song because it's complicated. So sometimes it's good to separate that and just have him playing along, and you just play along with that and just watch what his fingers are doing, or just listening. Now, as far as the ideas of creating your own things that come into your head and trying to make them appear on your instrument, that I believe comes from the subconscious. You get these ideas, but you have to act on them. It's like writing down a good idea that comes from the subconscious. When your mind is, say you're in the shower or you're walking down the street, when you're not trying to think of anything, that's when the ideas come to you. So the next step of transcribing, almost said subscribing, is being able to play out what appears in your head. And that's when you start developing an ear for tones and you say, oh, that's not the right note, that's not the right note. But you'll know what you're going for once you play that particular note. So I believe this notion of transcribing in general is the most important guitar lesson period that you can have. Even if it's just starting out, you get one chord and one note, and at first you start off and you're not going to be having immediate success at it, trust me, because it's one of those things that the learning curve of it's very steep early on, but I want you to persevere with this idea, this notion. It is very important. So let's see if we can review. Well, I talked about this is the most important guitar lesson. Like I said, I've done a lot of videos, even some that were taken down at the beginning. The first one was the Eastern Screech Owl, I think, on this channel. But today I just wanted to do something special. I haven't done a video I haven't had the time. When you think of the great guitar players, like I mentioned, they didn't have the resources that we have now. But they worked out how to play. But there's certain benefits that went along with the way these musicians learned. By not having these resources, they picked up on a lot beneath the surface by not having those resources, so to speak. Because there's just too many things that just can't be notated. And tabs are very useful. And they often try to notate these little details. But the real way is listening, because it just, the little inflections and so forth can't really be documented. And like I said, ideas come from the subconscious, but music itself has to do with the ears and listening, and it just demystifies a lot when you go into it specifically focused on the ears and don't get too caught up in the numbers, and I'm meaning the tablature and everything else. So, well, I think that just about does it. So this has been the most important guitar lesson for you. I encourage you to get started with this right away. And I'm going to talk about that sale that I went to today with the bike. And and some stuff that happened in another video, maybe a live video. I'm so glad I blocked that troll on the channel that was trolling me. It's just so peaceful. I never have to see your little remarks ever again. No. Just simply give me the benefit of being a viewer. But you can't say a word anymore. No one will see your comments anymore. It's a shame. I don't like to do that, but you had every chance in the book. You know, spamming my stuff, writing multiple things like that. That was an attack. I don't want that kind of foolish, stupid profile, purple profile picture showing up on my lessons ever again. So I'm surprised I didn't think of that sooner. Even if it takes me longer to get where I want to go, because the lack of comments or whatever, I don't want those sort of comments. I don't want a fool cluttering up my important lessons. So I hope you guys get on with this idea of transcribing. Thanks again.